All right. Hello, everyone. This is Save to Watch Later. I'm already choking. And my name is Chase. Welcome. My voice is a little bit gone because I saw Madonna last night, and I can't lie, I didn't want to go. I had very low expectations. And you know what? I was wrong. She slayed it. And like, I don't know, you guys. Like, sometimes you see someone who's like an icon, right? And you're going to the concert and you're like, yeah, they're like an icon. I respect them. I like them. But then you're like, you see them live and you're like, oh, that's why they're an icon. And they're like actually like a fucking rock star. When I saw Stevie Nicks, I felt the same way. And like, you know that scene in Freaky Friday where I almost said Chad Michaels. What's his name? Chad Michael Murray? Does Chad Michaels know about him? You know the scene where he's like, Anna, you rock, or like, Mrs. Anna, you rock, or something. Like, I don't know. He's just like, you rock, to Jamie Lee Curtis. That's how I feel watching these like 60-year-old queens fucking killing it. Like, killing it. Anyways, yeah. Genuinely incredible concert. That's all I'm going to say about it for now, because I could talk a lot about it, but I won't. But that's why my voice sounds like this. We're talking 4 a.m. bedtime, and I don't know. Okay. So this is Save to Watch Later. This is episode 2. Welcome to episode 2. Can you believe I'm actually making another episode? I can't believe I'm making one so early. I thought I was going to like do one in a few weeks, but basically I wanted to make a video. Originally, I wanted to make a podcast episode about social media. Then I wrote a fucking 13-page script for a YouTube video, like a proper video. I still have it. It's right here. And it's good. Wrote some funny jokes, had some good bits, and it's good. And then I was like, okay, I'll film it when I get a teleprompter I pre-ordered. Excuse me. Sorry. And then I was like, okay, I'll just film it later. But then I'm like, like when you try, I was like thinking about a way to make this an analogy. When you like try to take a pill and then it like, you can't like get it down, and then it starts like dissolving, and it gets like the taste is like really bad. And then you're like, and you spit it out, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try it again. And like start taking it again, but again, it's like too soft at this point. It's like instantly started dissolving, and then you just stop. You just like give up, and you just spit the pill out. You're like, you know what? I don't need medicine right now. That's how I kind of feel about a video about social media. When I tell you, like, I wrote notes about leaving social media months ago. Those notes became a million different things. Like I said, the most recent iteration was like a long YouTube video essay. I think this is the best. I just have to fucking stop thinking about making something about getting off of social media, because that's driving me insane. Okay. I just want to get it out there and be done with it. And B, I think this, will work better freeform. Anyways, but before we get into social media stuff, how are you guys? Thank you for watching and listening. I'm streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the biggins, I think. I don't have social media, so if you enjoy an episode, hey, feel free to share it on your social media. Or text it to a friend, I don't really know how SEOs work. I think that's what they're called, search engine something. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. I'm just having a good time making this. It's very cozy. It's very comforting. It's very grounding. I like realized after last episode, like when I'm like pontificating about like all these like big things, I kind of like, I feel more like tapped in to myself, and I feel like I have to hold myself accountable, because I can't like, have episode 1 where I'm like talking about just trying to be a good person, and then like the week after, like just be like an asshole. So it kind of helps me, I guess, hold myself accountable. Whatever. Is this boring? Yeah. I thought it'd be kind of fun though, before we get into the main topic, to be like, what have we been thinking about this week? What have you been thinking about this week? That's going to be the question. Because on Spotify, you can ask a question. There's like a Q&A section on the episode. And I'm going to say, what are you thinking about this week? One thing I'm thinking about this week is, God, this week's been like kind of gnarly. Okay. It's been kind of intense. Oh, my birthday's tomorrow when this comes out. My birthday's today. Happy birthday, me. I've been thinking about, it's like everyone's like, two things can exist at the same time. No. That era is over. Now we're in the era of two things do exist at the same time. And not only two things, two or more things are existing right now. You know what I mean? Not, two things can exist. Like, I get that. But two or more things are existing. You know what I mean? Like the multifacetedness, the so many sides to one thing. So that's kind of like been one thing I've been thinking about. What else have I been thinking about? Fucking social media. I just want to talk about it and just never talk about it again, honestly. Oh, not really. I mean, it's an interesting thing to talk about. And I was talking with my friends, shout out, you know who you are, about like, I was lost in the social media sauce, you guys. I was really lost in that social media sauce. And it's so crazy to see like the government like challenging like big social media companies and stuff like that. And it's good because there needs to be some regulation. But at the end of the day, all we can do is just act as individuals for the betterment of the community around us. So this video is just talking about my experience on social media, what I have learned since getting off of social media about myself and about like social media's effect on me and my life. And, there's so many things that it's just crazy that social media is something that almost everyone is on. And yet no one like stops to think, okay, there's no way that anything can be compatible for that amount of people, except for food, water, and air. You know what I mean? Those are compatible for everyone. Social media, social media is like not a one size fits all type of a thing. And I think the way that we use it, I think our zeitgeist and like our culture implies that it's something that everyone ought to have, everyone does have. It's not even a question if someone has it. And there's an association if you don't have social media, it's because you're like, it's like, not that you're weak, but it's just funny. People are like, oh yeah, I get it, but that it doesn't affect me that way. Okay. And that's okay that it doesn't affect you that way. But I think that we all need to just basically create an awareness and a curiosity and experiment within our own interactions with social media. Everyone should just like take a break. Like, dry January. Do that for social media. Do that for the month. Because I deleted TikTok as a joke for a week. And I never re-downloaded it. Never. And that was like years ago. Never re-downloaded it. The second it was off my phone, I was like, damn. I was really just like watching TikToks while peeing. Like glued to it. And then Twitter I deleted because I was just like, listen, again, I'm trying to be less intense, and that breeds intensity. So Twitter breeds intensity. And then Instagram, dude, Instagram's an app that like I used to be off of all social media after college. I was not on social media, but it's just so crazy because with Instagram, I didn't think that it would ever be, I don't know. It's like, I think it was the most innocent app. And I never thought, basically I deleted the app, right? But then I would find myself going to Instagram.com all the time. Instagram.com on my mobile browser. And I would use it on Instagram.com. And I don't know if you understand, they want you to use the app. So Instagram.com on a mobile browser is hellish to use. And yet I would use it because I liked Instagram, I guess, or it's just habitual or it's an addiction. I don't know. So then I had to get a fucking VPN and a website blocker. And now I blocked Instagram.com. So I can't go on that anymore. But like that was the extent, if I had to do that, I think that says something. Maybe it doesn't. So that's like where I'm coming from. I guess I'm just going to kind of go through this script so I don't forget anything and just kind of like hit on certain points I wanted to make, but much more like free form thought. Okay. We do have some disclaimers because this is the internet and people got a lot to say, but people got a lot to say, but no. Okay. Whoa. I think it's the hangover. People got a lot to say, but don't know shit about where I was made or how many floors I had to scrub just to make it past where I am from. No money. No. That's some Iggy eggs for you guys. Just making sure you're listening. The internet is a place and I need to make sure I say, some disclaimers. First of all, I'm not a sociologist or a scientist of any kind. I will be presenting no data. These are just opinions. While there are, of course, great aspects of social media, I'm not going to talk about those. I do question if the good outweighs the bad. And then also, like, this is so important. I don't judge anyone who uses social media. I don't give a fuck if anyone uses social media. I think that everyone ought to experiment with social media sobriety. And I do like secretly hope that one day our like collective, mindless infatuation and hyper focus on social media will dissipate. But I don't give a fuck if anyone uses it. I don't think that they're weak. I don't think that they're a sheep. I don't think that they're a creep. I don't think anything. Okay. I don't care. So yeah, those are the disclaimers. I think there might be one more. Let me see. No, that's it. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So the first bit of that script I was going to do was about parasocial elements, right? Okay. Because parasocial, that word is just like a hot topic. It's a good place to get started. I had a whole thing, you guys. Like, let me read you this line. It's kind of cute. I had a whole thing. Like, I was going to go back in time. It just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But doesn't matter. We're going to go with doesn't matter. Final answer. Okay, so let's start with the definition of parasocial. I know I have that somewhere. Okay. Cambridge Dictionary cites your sources. A connection between a person and someone that they don't know personally. Okay, this isn't just, me and Hannah Montana in 6th grade. This is anyone online. And I think probably majority of friends on Instagram, because a lot of those people you don't know personally. You knew them personally in high school or college, and you know them somewhat personally, but there's like there's a layer of parasocialism, right? And then there's also obviously just people that you meet online that you genuinely don't know personally and you just know them from online. And I know I said I was going to say anything good about social media, but it's like I've made some great friends online, like really good friends, like from like way back in the day, like Tumblr, shout out Kevin, really good friends. So that's cool. That's cool. I love that. But I question if like we're supposed to be connected with dozens of or hundreds of people that we were friends with at some point in time. You know what I mean? That hyper connectivity, is that a human thing? Doesn't feel like a human thing. It feels like if someone's on our lives anymore, they're not in our lives anymore. You know what I mean? They're not. So, yeah, that's one thing I'm thinking about. I've been thinking about because relationships take a lot of work. And I've found, I think I'll see this. Yeah. Okay. there's kind of like 2 points to the friendship aspect to online, because one, I would find myself worrying if I didn't like respond. And I know people who worry, like when they're like, oh, I don't DM people back, or I don't get back to people and I feel bad, or I don't respond to comments. Okay. I don't know if we should feel bad about that. Again, like this hyperconnectivity, right? And not only is it like an Instagram user wasting energy feeling bad for not responding to people, but then like wasting energy. I mean, like that's draining. It's a drain on the energetic body. And then 2, if you do respond to all the comments on the DMs, you're like sinking time and energy into the maintenance of relationships that for all intents and purposes don't really exist outside of the internet. Now that's fine to do. It's not a bad thing to do, but it's a weird thing to normalize and like feel guilty about. It's a weird thing to normalize and not question, is this where I want to spend my energy? Because ever since coming offline, I've had so much, not today, fucking tired today. Ever since coming offline, I've had so much more energy for myself and for my real life friendships. You know what I mean? Like I feel so much more like ready to take care of relationships that are a little bit more real. I don't mean just physical, like not like necessarily like in the same space, but like even a FaceTime or a phone call, like I have more energy for that because I'm very conscious, you know, I'm maintaining relationships intentionally. And you know, you have energy left over that's not being sunk into social media, and you get to invest that in yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. There's also like a part of it too, where I've had people online feel like they're a lot closer. They feel that they know me or are close. And this is like not like a thing where I'm like, this isn't a fan thing. Okay, I don't have fans. This is more like I would notice that like if I was posting online, I wouldn't hear from friends because they're like, oh, I know what Chase is up to. Again, no judgment. Interesting though, because you don't know what I'm up to really, you know, because we're not maintaining the relationship. You're just like kind of quiet because you're like, oh, I see Chase posting. Like I know I can assume how they're doing. I can assume what they're doing. But I've also had people where they feel like they know me. I've had people, dude, I mean, this is like a whole other story from like a self-help cult I joined, which is an episode in and of itself one day. This one woman DM'd me. Dude, I posted a picture. She DM'd me. Oh my God, this is insane. We shouldn't have social media. Okay. She was like, Chase, I saw your new picture on Instagram. It was a cute picture, but I just want to let you know that I'm here for you because I know that look and I can see the sadness in your eyes and I know what that's like. Hello? Like, please get offline. Please, like, I know I don't judge, but like that woman, offline immediately. The internet, you know, I grew up with the internet being a privilege. Okay. And I'm like, let's bring that back. And I'm taking away her access to the internet, or to social media, I should say. So I got these new shoes too. I'm wearing them and I'm very proud of them. They're little Birkenstock. I think they're called Zemats. Birkenstocks. Zamatis. I don't know. But my back is fucked up. And these are like my new little favorite house slippers. And they're so cozy wozy. Okay, so yeah, so crazy fucking shit. Okay. And I've had people too like act like I'll see them at like a convention or something and like act really close with me. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. We might exchange a tweet. We might like a post, but I don't know who you are. And there's like big examples of this, but there's also small examples of this. And I just think that like, it's just, there's a lot of chaos in it's so crazy to me. Social media feels like, especially like an app as, again, innocent as Instagram can feel sometimes. Social media looks like it gives us order and meaning and a template for the chaos that is being a human being. But there is so much chaos behind the UI of an app that no one talks about. I mean, it's an invisible chaos because everyone is using social media so differently. There are people who like use social media and that's their fucking gospel, bro. Like that's like their thing. And then there's people who use it very casually. And then you have everyone in between. And then everyone's interacting from whatever, however they use the thing. And so it's crazy because people think that might think they're close with me, but to me, I'm like, it's just a random DM I had to respond to, or not random in a mean way, or a dismissive way. I know I literally made the dismissive gesture. I should really stop making that gesture. I also want to stop saying the word. Oh, I can't believe I'm about to say this because it means I'm going to have to actually start trying to do it because my friends listen to this, and if they hear me say the word after this, then they're going to be like, "Hey, you said you weren't going to say that word on Save to Watch Later." I think I want to stop saying the word bitch. I really want to stop saying that word because I say it without gender, but the way people hear it can be gendered. Does that make sense? So there's still a destructive energy in that word that I can't control. So even though I use it in an ungendered way and I use it for fucking everyone, including myself, thank you, I don't want to use it. It's such a good word, though. I don't want to let that go, but I just think it'd be nice. What was I talking about? Okay, something about parasocial things. Okay, yeah. Okay. And then there's also probably people, like, there's people that, like, think they know me, and I'm like, no, like, I don't know you. Like, I'm just kind of like interacting with my social media and honestly getting shit done. I'm responding to things. And then I should not have eaten lunch before this. I'm so sorry. And now I'm going to yawn. We're going to call this bodily noises episode. And there's other people where it's the opposite, where I think I'm fucking close with someone and I'm just a number to them, which is fine. But it's just like, I mean, it's a little embarrassing for me to think about. Like, if I'm like, oh, did this person like see my story? Does this person respond to my message? If they didn't respond to my message, what does that mean? Do they not like me the way I like them? Do they not or they watch my story? That means they care about me. That means they care about me. No, it means they're fucking taking a dump and they need something to do. They needed something to look at while they poop. That's what it means. Doesn't mean they like me or care about me. Okay. And it's a little unhinged for me to think that. So these are like parasocial things, right? Again, like I just like don't like the idea of parasocial. People just think about parasocial relationships in terms of like influencers or like content creators. It's so much more than that to me. And yeah. Okay. What else? Okay. Okay, yeah, I talked about like reclaiming like time and energy that I invest into more real life relationships and how that feels really good. I also want to say that I feel like emotionally richer from getting like, cause like, okay, we are human beings. We need social stimulation, right? As like a blanket, social stimulation is a thing, is a need. Social media scratches that itch, right? It kind of feeds that need a little bit. But since seeking social stimulation for more authentic and intentional interactions as opposed to mindless social media use is so much more emotionally enriching for me. It's a lot more satisfying. Again, that's even if it's a FaceTime or a phone call, like that's intentional and mindful. It's not, but it's still digital. I'm not against the digital. Okay. I also will say like since like being offline, catching up with friends, so much more fun. So I can listen more. I can get more curious. I can ask more questions because I genuinely don't know what someone's been up to because I don't see it online. And vice versa. They ask me questions because they don't know what I'm up to. You know what I mean? So that's like also a really, really fun and exciting thing. So like, it's hard to listen, you guys. It's so hard to listen. So that's why it's nice because it's a little bit easier to listen now. Now I'm like, oh, I actually like don't know what you're up to, you know? I don't know if we're meant for constant connection and communication and like social stimulation in that way. I also hate texting. I promise I'm not in total like vibe killer, but I don't like texting, and maybe one day we'll do a little episode on texting, but I think I'll offend probably everyone if I do an episode on texting. But I just think that like, listen, okay. I think that human beings, particularly Americans, have gotten really soft and complacent, and like those like people on Wall-E that just kind of like float around and like aren't actually like engaged, and like everything's brought to them, and they like can't feel too much or express too much or think too much, and we're pretty subdued, right? And I don't really know where I was going to go with this, but I think that two things that are adding to this is like social media. That is absolutely adding to it, because there are a lot of unspoken rules of social media. There's also a lot of like backlash you can get from like posting or not posting on something on social media, so like keeps us subdued, like even just like that constant connection. And I just think that we all need to start touching more grass and digging our feet in the dirt and be reminding ourselves, oh, we're human. Like, okay, I was like thinking about the election, getting pretty fucking stressed out, walking to get my coffee today. And then I realized, Chase, maybe today we just allow ourselves to be a human being, not an American. Maybe we just let ourselves be a human. Like, I'm just a human on this planet for today. I'm not like an politically engaged young American living in America during an election cycle. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm just like a human being existing amongst other human beings, and there's like sort of like a romanticized cave person appeal to this, right? Like my neighbors in their rock huts and I'm in my rock hut, and I come outside and we like wave to each other and go, oh, oh. Like that. Maybe that's enough. And I just think that we need to start getting back to that a little bit. Does that make sense? So yeah, texting is not it. Oh, actually, speaking of the cave people thing, like there's a really good video I wrote it down how to pronounce it because I literally never know how to pronounce it, but I've watched them for years. Kurzgesagt is an amazing YouTube channel. It'll be in the notes of this podcast. Kurzgesagt. They have a really good video on how like our tiny little stupid human brains have a really hard time processing such large social media like websites and communities like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. I really recommend that everyone goes and watches it. It talks a lot about how like, you know, while humans are evolving, they like would live in communities, but those communities were relatively small, and if you didn't get along or you didn't agree, you still had to count on each other to survive. So you would let those disagreements go, right? You would be like, okay, well, I don't agree, but I need that person because they provide this for like our community. And if we don't have that, then the community suffers. So it's a really good video, you guys. I swear to God, even if you just click off of this and unsubscribe from my channel and never talk to me again, go watch it. It's really good. I just think that, yeah, I think hundreds of years from now, human beings are going to look back and they're going to be like, damn, like those poor human beings in the early like 2020s, specifically the 2020s, like maybe like 20 teens a little bit, had it rough. Like they're going to look back with some sympathy and be like, I don't know how they won't know how he managed. Like we're like the technology is too advanced when you compare it to our like where our brains are evolutionary speaking. Oh my God. I'm not a scientist. I can't back any of that up, but that's how I feel. Okay, good. Okay, so good. That's like the social elements that I wanted to hit on. Other stuff I wanted to talk about was like how it affects our culture, which actually kind of transitions well. But basically, algorithms. We're gonna start with algorithms because like I don't think people talk about algorithms enough. And I know like we do, but I don't think we talk about algorithms enough in terms of like, these are algorithms created by human beings, profit hungry human beings, right? Billionaires, companies that need to make money. And like these algorithms will promote content that will keep us on the app, whether it's like a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes people stay on an app because it makes them angry. Sometimes they stay on an app because it makes them feel good and sort of like it pacifies them and they like that, right? I find that existing online can create a very like chaotic dissonance between the user's understanding of how the world works around them and then the world in its actuality, right? If you spend too much time online, you can very easily think that the world is safer than it is, which, by the way, is incredibly dangerous because we need to experience the world as it exists. You know what I mean? And stay informed with like, yeah, the news, of course, but like, if you just think the world, if you think everyone thinks the way you think, bad. If you think everyone thinks differently than you and you hate the world and no one thinks like you, bad. And each of those has like a million reasons why they're bad. And it can trick you. It can also trick mental health things. It can trick you into thinking that the world is like more dangerous than it is. It's just like, I don't know. It's just that is something that I just bring up as like a little bit of point because it's an important part of like how it's shaping our culture. I think social media has shattered politics, specifically in America, but also globally. I think it's shattered like just social skills, everything. So like a lot of things, whatever. I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but on the subject of algorithms feeding us like what we want to see, part of social media is getting like a funny video or getting positive attention and praise and comments and likes or views. From whichever app we're using. And that all feels good. Yes. Because it releases dopamine, but that's dopamine being released from a cell phone, in a computer screen. And that dopamine isn't actually, I don't think it's actually as real as it feels. So it feels very real. It feels good, but in reality, like it's not real. And it kind of reminds me of like PORN in terms of, just stimulation and feeling good from something that's not real. Again, and by the way, that's not a judgment on PORN. That is just, it has a similar gratification that is simulated and that is not necessarily real, especially because like you're feeling good because fucking Jack from high school liked your post. What? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. And that rush is so easily accessed. And like all you need to do is like scroll past like one more post or post one more selfie. And you just get more of it. And I think we can just lose ourselves in like a mindful consumption of content. And becoming mindless while using these apps, in my opinion, is exactly like what these corporations want. They want us to mindlessly consume. An example that's like kind of funny is I went on Instagram.com one night before I blocked it. And I went on Instagram.com and it showed me one of Stevie Nicks' posts. And she was talking, she had just dropped her Stevie Nicks Barbie. Okay. there's a lot to unpack here. I am so grateful I saw that post because I was able to get a Stevie Nicks Barbie before they sold out, and they sold out very fast. And I'm very happy with that. But also, like, crazy that, like, I logged on and just, like, bought something. And, like, that mindless consumption, like, I mean, that was very mindful in terms of, like, I knew I wanted the Stevie Nicks Barbie. But I just mean, like, again, like, they want us on these apps and they want us to be mindless. They want us to just consume content, whether it's, like, paid advertisements or, like, a friend's content. They want us mindless. I hate to be that person. I really hate to sound like a fucking Fox News conspiracist because they want us to be mindless. And it also suppresses, like, debate and, like, encourages fucking groupthink, and it's so gnarly. And I speak from a place of experience because there's been times where I've just followed opinions of friends online because I trust that person. You know, I remember there's, like, my one friend, I was like, I think it was like something super not serious. It was just like some dumb, let's say, thing that was happening in the Star Wars fandom, and I didn't really know I didn't know the whole situation, you know what I mean? But everyone was talking about it and everyone had to say something about it. And I was like, well, what did he say? Like, I'll just kind of agree with him because I love him and trust him. But first of all, obviously stupid, dangerous, don't do that. But also, I robbed myself of, like, actually taking the time to learn about a situation and then, like, come up with my own opinion and then add my own opinion to a discourse, which is, like, how any, like, progress or understanding is made, is when all these people can share all these different opinions and, like, come to consensus and, like, have public debate for the art of debate, for the art of learning and growing and teaching each other and self-reflecting and, like, so I don't know. I think it's just an interesting idea. I think that a lot of people just kind of, like, again, I hate to bring up the strikes again. I know I talked about it last episode, and I hope I didn't come across as an asshole because, especially, like, if you got to get your bag, like, that's fine. But it's, like, crazy because people will fully just, like, post something about something going on, like the strikes, for example, but they don't give a fuck, and that's okay in a way. You know, I care, but if someone else doesn't care, that's their prerogative. I'm not gonna fucking make them care. But it's like they just put it out there. Or, like, when I was, like, getting fucking bullied when I was getting, you know, harassed online, all these people, like, it became content for other people. Everyone started, like, defending me or whatever, like, saying something nice about me, which was cool and nice, and it meant something. It didn't mean everything because it's not really real, but it meant something in terms of, like, oh, that's supportive. But at the same time, like, they're just using my situation to make content. They're just tweeting something in support of me because everyone else is tweeting something in support of me. Does that make sense? And, like, I don't know. I think that there's just a real danger to it because I think it genuinely encourages group mentality, like, mob mentality. No, herd mentality. Like, it just, like, okay, there's a Star Wars creator who used AI to use someone's face from Star Wars, Mark Hamill's face. And I don't think that's right to do. Like, I don't think that's cool, but he's allowed, it's not against the law yet. He's allowed to do that. He's allowed to do that. Someone can do something that I don't like and I don't agree with, and he's allowed to do that. But then if I assume, I was not online for this, but I assume everyone online was like, this guy fucking sucks, like, cancel him. And some people probably felt that way, and that's genuine, like, fine, you can express that, but I can guarantee there are people who did not actually stop to think if they actually felt the way that they were posturing online. Does that make sense? Instead of, like, actually being like, well, I think that's crazy that he did that and he shouldn't do that, but he's allowed to do whatever he wants. He's a different person and he's operating from a completely different set of values and beliefs. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. I hope this makes sense. Like, I hope I don't sound fucking crazy, but I don't know. I just think that, like, I do think social media suppresses debate and discourse and individuality and individual thought. And it's so funny because what social media promises us like individuality, right? It promises us this fantasy and illusion of perceived individuality where, oh, I'm posting online, I am my own person, I matter, I have identity that is separate from everyone else. And yet what it's actually doing is the opposite. It's encouraging all of us to just like think like each other and fuck off if you don't think the way that everyone else thinks. Does that make sense? And it's also dangerous in terms of misinformation because back in October, I heard I was not online, thank God, and people were just fucking posting shit without knowing what they're posting, and it's dangerous, and it's like very feral feeling immediacy to people needing an opinion and putting out a statement and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, by the way, not everyone should have a statement on everything, and by the way, not everyone should have an opinion right away. It's not normal to have an opinion right away. Well, maybe not normal, but it's not conducive to a larger conversation to have an opinion on something right away. People need to be encouraged to take time to think about things, to learn about things, and to come to conclusions and learn and think. And then they can share an opinion if they want to. So I get heated about that because like the way social media affects culture does freak me out a little bit. I know I sound like a fucking conspiracy alt-right person. That is not who I am. If you know me, that's not who I am at all. But I think that is a reality that social media puts on us. And I don't like that. I'm going to move on from like the cultural part of it. I'm going to get into like social media's effects on our inner lives, on our inner well-being. This is like what I'm most excited to talk about because I've noticed a lot of things about myself, like most like everything that I've learned from being offline. It's been like, I don't know, like maybe 5 months of being offline off of everything. And one of my favorite parts about being offline, that I have the most to talk about is like internal life stuff, is mental health stuff. Okay. So I said this so many times. Oh my God, I'm bored with myself. But one of the earliest reasons I can remember why I considered deleting my social media was just how like judgy I would be. And I don't mean judgy as in like, God, that person fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess maybe once in a while I do that. I think it's a human thing to not like everyone. But it would be very sort of like, there'd be little micro judgments, right? Like I'd like see someone that like just had a baby, like, ugh, they just had a baby, which is crazy first and foremost, because I shouldn't have an opinion on if someone has a baby or not. I should just like have opinions. I mean, I can have opinions on having babies as a concept, but I shouldn't like have a feeling about like, what's a random woman's name? God, give me something. I shouldn't have an opinion on like Stacy. I don't know anyone named Stacy. This is safe. I shouldn't have an opinion on like Stacy having a baby. That's embarrassing. I should have an opinion on. I can have an opinion on having babies. I should not have an opinion on whether or not Stacy's having a baby, because Stacy's a random girl I went to high school with, and that's not relevant to my life, and that's weird that I have feelings about that. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy for me, and it's embarrassing. And these like little micro judgments, like I would just kind of like roll my eyes here and there. And I think over time, like as you use social media, like over like, let's say 3 to 6 months of using social media regularly, you just have more and more of those moments where you're like, ugh, like you just kind of like roll your eyes at someone, or you're like, ugh, you know what I mean? And I hope I don't sound like an asshole, and I hope I'm not the only one that did that. But those tiny, like innocent judgments, fairly innocent, eye rolly judgments, it's like Instagram and social media becomes like a workout. It becomes a virtual gym where you get to flex and build those judgmental muscles, because you're judging everyone, not everyone, but you're judging these people that you see online based off of what outfit they wear, if they just had a baby, if if they have like a cringy opinion, or if they like are shilling out for a movie, which like I'm just making these up, by the way, but you're just constantly doing that, and it builds that judgment, right? And then by the way, when you log off, that judgment muscle is pretty strong, even though you're offline. So I found that like I was just more critical. I've become less critical since coming offline, and I've become less critical of other people, and I've become less critical of myself. And that's cool, but it makes me sad because I think that people don't think about that kind of stuff. And then for me, like with that criticism going on when I was online, it can also create a really toxic sense of like self-importance, and like it didn't get that out of hand for me, but I'm just grateful that I don't think that like I am anyone anymore. You know what I mean? Obviously, like there's those God complex days for sure, but I don't think of myself as important in the same way. Because if people read your shit online or like your shit or you get attention, again, it can make you feel more important than you are, which by the way can create anxiety for some people, or it can create a weird God complex for other people. And it's like, it's nice to know that you don't matter, I think. Anyway, so like less critical, blah, 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 blah. Also, like, yes, obviously social media can cause a lot of comparison, and comparison's the thief of joy. We know, we get it. But I will say there was a lot of comparison for me online that I never considered myself someone who would be like constantly comparing myself to other people. But TikTok was really bad at this, because everyone on TikTok's hot, Everyone on TikTok is sexy and like in shape or whatever. And I think, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And even if I wasn't aware of it, I was absolutely comparing like my body and my appearance, my lifestyle, my confidence levels, my creative output levels. Like I was comparing all these things with strangers on the internet. And the thing about comparing online that I think is a good point. I'm going to toot my own horn. I think this is a good point, everyone. So listen up. The thing about comparing online, because listen, comparing is a very human thing to do, very natural thing to do when we hold ourselves up against, someone else and we compare. But we are comparing ourselves. We're doing something very human in a very unhuman, unnatural context. That unnatural, unhuman context is social media, because we are perceiving someone to be a certain way and then comparing ourselves to that perception. We're not just comparing ourselves to that person in actuality. We have a perception of them and then hold ourselves up against the perception of them, which, by the way, most of the time is probably false. So we're comparing ourselves to a false perception. Why? Why are we doing that? That's not good. That's so sad. We shouldn't do that to ourselves. Like, we just shouldn't do that to ourselves. Okay, and then this is fucking crazy. So it was after Star Wars Celebration in London in April. And I was in London. Life was good. I was very sick though. But it was good. Life was good. Things went really well in London. Had a blast with friends. Great trip. Great time. So I'm still in London. I'm like kind of coming down from the weekend, and I'm like happy, you guys. I'm like so happy. I was watching an episode of Survivor. One of the contestants was talking about like love and like just like being supportive and like loving and helping people. And I had felt very supported and loved and helped that weekend. And I got really emotional in a good way. I was like very happy and emotional. I was like, oh my God, like I feel so grateful for like this weekend. What an amazing thing. And I was very grateful. What did I do? I'm literally about to cry. Am I going to cry every episode? I don't know. Subscribe to find out. What did I do? I went on my phone. I started maybe like drafting like a gratitude tweet. Yes, sure. Like that's a thing you can do. But I just went online. And I think we talk a lot about how when we're feeling sad or angry or whatever, like we distract ourselves with online content, which is fine. You know, sometimes you just have a fucking shitty day and you want to watch funny videos online. That's fine. I totally get that. But when when you mindlessly go online because you're sad and you think it's gonna make you feel better, it doesn't work. But what was so scary to me about this is like, again, one of the earliest signs of I got to get offline was I started distracting myself because I felt too good in that moment. Like, I just want to read this to make sure I like really get this right. Yeah. I'm just gonna read it. I remember feeling overwhelmed with emotions of love and gratitude and pride and accomplishment. And one of the first things I did was go to my phone to scroll and distract myself from really feeling those feelings and sitting with them and allowing them to be expressed. And that freaked me out. Like I said, yeah, I always expect myself to get on social media as a distraction when I'm feeling sad or anxious, but to do it when I was feeling intense joy is heartbreaking. And it's like, again, kind of like back to that, we're all Wall-E people. Like, we're all just sort of like desensitized, like numb things. Like, emotion is discomfort. Emotion can be uncomfortable. Any emotion, especially like intense emotions, whether they're bad or good. And the fact that but it was so sad to me that I couldn't just like let myself be happy and like cry out of happiness and like really see that emotion to the end, right? And fully express it, because I started distracting myself by going online because I was like, no, that's way too intense. That's too intense. I don't want to feel that. But what's more human than emotions? And I think that we're robbing ourselves of being human. Sometimes we're supposed to be sad. Sometimes we're supposed to be really happy. And sometimes we're supposed to be really bored, and boredom is a great thing. And I've been so grateful to be bored since getting offline. I love being bored now, because now instead of like going online and seeking to become unbored through a corporate run application on my phone, on my iPhone made by Apple, instead of doing that, now I'm like, okay, we gotta think, like, what do we want to do? We're bored. And it comes from a place of like autonomy. It doesn't come from a place of like capitalism. Whoop. Thought I wouldn't have to say that word today. So anyway, again, no judgment on like, if you have a shitty day and just want to watch fucking funny videos, that's fine. But it's like the mindless sort of habitual coping strategy that does worry me a little bit. And then, yeah. Oh, and also like another thing about like the boredom thing, we also need time for quiet and connection with ourselves. And so like, you can like turn off music and like turn off the lights and everything and have like a moment of quiet. But if you're on your fucking phone and like getting stimulated by like social media, it doesn't really count. And like, we need time, not to get too woo-woo, but like, actually, I don't want to get too woo-woo. I'm going to read this word for word because I don't want to fuck this up. Okay. One thing I always bring up with friends is this idea of our it's so funny. Like the way I switched to reader mode, like my voice, maybe it's not funny, but it's, wish I could stop doing it. One thing I always bring up with friends is this idea of our subconsciouses feeding us all with inspired ideas and something we should do or something we should make. And we could easily miss out on these thoughts and ideas that are subconscious, that rise from our subconscious into our conscious minds. We can miss those messages that we're supposed to be receiving from the universe or from ourselves. We can miss those thoughts and we can miss those ideas if we're distracting ourselves with our social media accounts or investing more time and energy into our relationships online rather than our relationships with ourselves. Or even more probably apt is investing too much time in our online identity and our online persona instead of in our real life identity and our real life persona. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, the overuse of social media at the very least can prevent mindfulness and lessen our relationships with ourselves, leading to endless feelings of angst and discontentment without us ever realizing why. We're just like, I just like don't really feel satisfied. Well, it's because probably we're checked out a little bit. You know what I mean? There's a lot of dissonance in that. If you're like in the real life, but you're kind of checked out. And again, like so many people are like, well, that's not me. Okay. Do you know it's not you? How do you know it's not you? I hate to like, I know this sounds very like, I haven't even seen The Matrix and this is giving Matrix vibes, but it's like, we have to promote the idea of spending time offline. In terms of like conscious, I'm deleting this social media for the month. All social media, or just TikTok, or just Twitter, or just Instagram. And I'm going to see the effect on my life. I'm going to see what that does. Because maybe this app doesn't work. Maybe this app works for me and this one doesn't. Maybe all social media works for me and it's not a big deal. Maybe no social media works for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, we just have to promote that, because I think it is keeping us from living a little bit more empowered and satisfied lives. Which, by the way, again, makes us want to buy things. And that's what the apps want us to do. And I love that everyone's starting to fucking drag TikTok and Instagram for becoming shops, because in a way, they've been like that for a long time and now they're really just showing their cards. Yeah. Oh, our minds subconsciously, I kind of like this line. I wrote, our minds subconsciously draining. Yeah. Our minds are subconsciously draining our own energy by tracking posts and messages and likes and notifications, and it can leave our innermost selves in a confusing, lethargic fog. At least it did for me. Oh, that was it. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't make this into video, because honestly, it's not good, but I think it just works better to talk about it a little bit more loosey goosey. I feel like I did that right in the microphone. Yeah. Okay. So that's the rant, you guys. That's the social media talk. I love you if you use it. I love you if you don't use it. I think that I would love it if you just took some time off of one or all social media apps and just see what your life is like. I would love to know what your life is like. But at the same time, life is fucking crazy, and everyone's got to do what they got to do, and I have no right deciding what's right for another person. If you want to hear me talk about anything specific that I mentioned in this video, definitely let me know in the comments. I think you can comment on Spotify too, or comment on YouTube, because believe it or not, I always have more to say. And I would love for this to be a conversation. I think it's very interesting. Like, another thing too, like, I should report myself a little bit. Like, since getting offline, I feel like I track news headlines all the time. So like, I can tell that like that addiction is kind of like transferring to something else. Like, I can tell that anytime I get a news notification, I'm like, oh, what is it? Like, what I need to know. So there's a little bit more of like that energy that I have right now. And I think it's a direct result of not getting those notifications from online. Also, like, since getting a new phone, there's like the always ready screen, which means it's like just kind of like always on. I think I should disable that. I don't want to see a screen all the time. What else? I think like there's like a bunch of like random little fart thoughts I have where they're just kind of like bumbling around there. But yeah, I deleted social media a while ago. Happy with the decision. Probably will never go back on it. I guess I still go to Instagram.com if I need to look, and I'll unblock it for a second if I need to look at something, or if I needed to DM a DJ because I'm trying to go dance on my birthday, and I wanted to know if he was playing. So I still have it, but I don't use it. I hope this wasn't boring. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for reviewing the podcast. I can't believe you just reviewed the podcast and like gave it a whole review, because that really helped me. So thanks for doing that. Just kidding. There's only one review and it's from me. 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars because I'm proud of myself. Thank you. I still don't have an outro. Maybe I will. Oh, I have to give a shout out to my sister Sierra. So I hope you watched all the way through, Sierra. All right. I love you guys, and I'm going on a trip, so probably won't post in 2 weeks, but I'll be back soon. Bye.